Today we're kicking it with Ryan Botha, former professional soccer player and current coach at Camps Bay Football Club. Must be a nice job.
It's a nice job. Good view. Good location.
Ryan, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We were supposed to meet on Monday.
Yeah.
The day after Bafana Bafana got knocked out. But
probably better we didn't.
I think I wasn't in the mood for anything.
Good to clear the head, I think. a lot of disappointment going around, you know?
Yeah. So, let's start with Bafana Bafana. What do you think of their performance in the World Cup? And maybe you can touch on the build-up to the World Cup, say in the last 5 years.
You know, for me, I think we came back strong after Mexico. I think we could both agree Mexico was a concern. You know, the formation, the change. For me, it didn't feel like our identity. I get the coach coming in cautious and perhaps having his ideas around the game, but it didn't work. So I was quite worried, if I was honest with you. But I'm very patriotic. I love my country. As South Africans, we might hada and moan, but we're still their loyal support, you know? So I then watched Czechia and I was a bit concerned, feeling a team that's had 2 clean sheets in 17 games. So we struggled to score. We scored off a pen. The first real opportunity, we started breaking and playing our brand, getting forward, being exciting. We got a pen, we scored. And obviously against Korea, I honestly, I'll be honest with you, I thought we had no chance. Watching Korea play Mexico, I thought to myself, this is a good team. Structured, disciplined, hardworking. But we played attractive football. You know, we were defensively minded, very strong. We broke with intention. My concerns before the World Cup were magnified by Mexico because the first 3 or 4 games before the World Cup friendlies, we weren't looking exciting. We couldn't get a win. We had losses and draws. So there was a concern for me. But before that, if that hadn't happened, I probably would be very excited and very optimistic because I felt like we had a good brand of football going. You know, we had competed well in the CAF Cup, you know, the African tournament. We had done really, really well. And it was a big concern seeing us playing against Mexico. But as we're resilient. We are South African. You know, we don't give up very easily. We've been through far more than what the World Cup might suggest. So overall, I was quite proud in the end. You know, I thought going through the 32, I really felt Canada was a good draw for us. I really felt that Canada would be in a game where we could look to push on. Yes, they're big and strong, but I felt if we played a bit more of our own brand, it might have been a bit more of a contest. But I think the boys can be proud. You know, first time we've gone to the final 32. We competed, you know, we had some very exciting players coming through, really exciting players. I had a couple concerns with the amount of PSL players we had there, and not because I don't think the PSL is a decent league. I just feel that there's not enough experience in the PSL to warrant having that many players in the World Cup. And I think you could see in key moments of the game how discipline in certain key moments. In South Africa, you might get away with certain hands and misdemeanors, but in that level, nothing gets missed by camera, nothing gets not seen. The VAR is right there. And I think that showed in the experience. You know, we lost the game in key moments for me, and it showed through the lack of experience. You know, I think it was very one-dimensional to a degree. Too many of the same kind of players coming from the same kind of teams, and not enough players bringing that individual flair sometimes.
Okay. And then where could, from a tactical point of view, where could we have improved?
Now, again, you know, talking from a coaching perspective, obviously we all got our own views and our own philosophies. But I think if I look at me being an ex-South African footballer and I like to think about how we are as footballers, I think if you take away our individual identity as a footballer, you know, and you stop the wingers running at players, getting balls into the right area, getting the question marks being asked, you know, by Lyle Foster, big and strong. He's a big, strong striker. We're not utilizing him to his strengths. Everything's being played with awkward positions from. Nothing's being challenged for a head, nothing into his feet. We can protect it. So for me, I wouldn't have gone so defensive minded. I definitely would have been a strong mid block. I probably wouldn't have gone to a low mid block sometimes. I would have sat more mid block trying to force those areas higher up the field. Because at that level, if you get punished and you make a mistake lower in the area to your offensive third, that's when you start conceding goals. You know, that's when mistakes happen in those areas. So I felt if we had played a bit more of our brand going forward, allowing players like running at players, getting exciting, bringing fouls in key areas of the field, it might have made a bit more of an opportunity for us to progress further. But the only thing I would have changed is not being so defensive-minded, allowing our players to have the freedom to play in key areas of the park where it suits their ability, and then playing a bit more to our strengths. I felt like we didn't always do that. You know, often we get the ball out wide, and instead of looking out to run the play or penetrate, we'd come back again and start again. And I just felt like it was too negative. too many backward passes, and leading up to the World Cup, we didn't play like that. We played very aggressive, very forward, sideways and forward passes. We didn't play backwards very often. And I felt your keeper's having so many touches on the ball, that should tell you it's a problem, you know? It's a problem when he's one of the guys on the ball the most. I felt we should have had that high up the field. So that's just would have been my view if I was involved in some capacity as a coach.
Yeah. And the nice thing about this World Cup, we got to see two different approaches, what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think we can agree as a country what works. You know, to your point, we should be more attacking minded.
Yeah, agreed. Attacking minded is who we are as South African footballers. We spoke about it earlier about this. If you go back to players like Doc Kamalo, if you told Doc back in the day to play everything backwards and sideways, he would have looked at you and smiled at you, because he was an exciting player. He wanted 1v1 duels. He wanted to get past you. He wanted to create opportunities to score goals. He's not going to take the ball backwards. And I felt when you play, especially we had never played a 5-3-2. I didn't remember playing us a 5-3-2 ever. Do you? When I saw that, it was a concern, because first of all, you got to work on that. I don't know how much we worked on that. The players need to understand key responsibilities in that role. And then also where do the goals come from? Are we playing for a draw? Because you're playing for a draw against Mexico at home, you're taking a risk, you know. Czechia, also for me, we were very negative. We went against a team who were lacking confidence. They've only kept 2 clean sheets in 17 games, and you're not putting pressure on them. You're not running within the box. You're not making these big guys turn sideways. You're making them be strong in their natural position instead of making big boys turn looking for you.
Yeah.
We're small and skillful. So let's utilize that. Let's get them around players, movement, passing balls, getting these big lads shifting and trying to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. We allowed them to play comfortably in what they were managing. And for me, I felt like it wasn't our identity. When I hear our pundits after the game against Czechia to a degree saying, there's our identity. And I think we had 45% of the ball, which was more than Czechia. There was some ball in contestation. But we had 2 chances, 3 chances. How is that our identity? I'm sorry, we ball possession is the objective to score goals.
Yeah.
If you've got 40, 50, 60 in the ball, you should be having 10, 12, 13 shots, 5, 6, 7 on target. We didn't have that. So we weren't playing our brand.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we're playing our brand at all.
And maybe when you look at Bafana Bafana, you should look at it from a holistic point of view. So maybe I'd like to hear your analysis on the state of South African football right now. Because you don't prepare for the World Cup now, you prepare for it, say, 10 years. So maybe looking towards 2030, where are we now from your point of view, and what can be done from a grassroots, especially now when you look at that the teenagers now are going to be the ones that will be in the World Cup in 2030 and 2034.
Look, I feel like we've got some key young players in the squad now. I think our average age is pretty young, so these boys will be around for a bit. But the key focus for me should be in South African development. You know, there's a lot of wealth in South African football. I don't think it's put into the right areas. You know, I think now with the ruling being passed only recently, the last year, that coaches at the developed level must have a qualification, that'll be a change and a shift. But I think the biggest thing is we need to get coaches in this country who teach players at a young age to play football. You know, I've coached at development level now for the last couple of years while getting my licenses, and I have been at Motepe level as well, and I've seen the difference. And players aren't taught to play football. They're taught to win games. And how you win a game as a youngster, kicking along, chasing, doesn't work in professional football. It would have worked maybe 20, 25 years ago, where you had big players knock it up, he knocks it down, and you win off that. But nowadays it's so tactical that you're giving the ball away and you're going to get punched against a good team. So if you teach young players how to build up play, when under pressure, how to release away from the pressure, how to be comfortable on the ball, how to be 1v1s when it's necessary in the right areas of the field, how to use both their feet, I think we have so much talent in this country that 2030, 2034, the World Cups to come and the tournaments to come, you'll see a very different South Africa. You know, I've played in multiple countries, and I always say South African football remind me of South American players. You know, we have that skill, we have the flair, we have the passion, but we don't have the mentality and we don't have the hunger. You know, we at a young age are cushioned and put pillows around and yeah, it's okay. Whereas there's 1,000 kids wanting the same role. You know, whereas here you get into the right situation, you're going to get a chance. And I feel that it fails us. It fails us quite badly. So for me, the biggest focus should be development, all through the ages, all through the clubs. clubs should be forced to have a certain standard of a coach at the development level, especially professional clubs, but also amateur clubs. How they talk to players should be important. Too many coaches scream and shout at players at young levels, and it doesn't teach them the right thing in football. It's just screaming and shouting, kick, chase, do this. There's no instruction being given to the player on how to correct his body shape, on how to receive the ball, is in the right area of the field. And until you teach players the right things and let them make mistakes in those moments to figure out what works, you're not going to get a footballer coming out of it. So for me, our biggest focus should be development. I think if we get that right with the talent we have, this discussion won't be happening. It'll be a case of how can we win games?
Yeah.
Because the development's coming through. And that for me is our biggest problem. And I've seen it firsthand. I've been in development football now. I've been coaching 7 or 8 years. I've been developing football probably 4, 5, 6 years of that. And I haven't seen maybe more than 2 or 3 coaches that talk to players like I do. Talk to players to get them better, to, yes, come down on them, to demand a certain standard, but to coach them to be better and not to coach them to win games. That's the difference. And we have a young squad, like I said, with 1 or 2 key players who are beautifully built, phenomenally, and they've got a phenomenal career ahead of them.
Yeah.
But can you just imagine if you had these players with the right development and the right education on how to handle their wealth, how to handle the fame, what kind of player they might be going forward? You know, because now you're going to see these players. I know many players, I'm not mentioning names, who were very, very good footballers, went to Europe and came back 2 years later, was drinking, pooza, couldn't handle their things because it got too much for them. They weren't taught how to handle that out of their comfort zones.
Yeah.
And that's something that we need to focus on, because we're going to just fail kids left, right, and center.
And that's my biggest worry now. Even with, you look at our star players that were in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Bogazi,
Yes.
obviously, is doing well in America now.
Yes. He's a phenomenal builder. Yes, he's got a great. If he does what he's doing, he's got a great creative.
Yeah. He's still young, so
20.
we hope that because he didn't come through a organized structure, he only got to Pirates like in his late teens. So you worry that his upbringing prepare him for the moment that he is now, being the world.
So we're talking about. That's exactly my point.
You know.
Now we're going to see, because there's talks of Bayern Munich around him. There's talks of a few big clubs around him, and I honestly believe it's going to happen for him.
Yeah.
But with that comes a different kind of demand, different kind of pressure, you know. And then we're going to see how he managed it.
Yeah.
And I really hope he goes to a club that has patience around him and people around him who will guide him. Because if not, we'll be another African player that's failed.
Yeah.
You know, I had some big clubs watching me as a young South African player, and I was told by them, we're going to watch you for 2-3 years at 2021. When you're 23, 24, we'll then see how you mature, because African players have this gap, you know, gap in development, gap in mentality. So it is a European message. So again, I'm going to remind you, we have talent as clear as day. I mean, there's raw, robust talent, you know, and now how we groom that will be the next step.
Yeah. No, let's hope. And Rile Mofokeng as well just got signed to
another one. Yeah, in Belgium.
Yeah.
Lens.
Union SG.
Yeah, that's the one. Yes.
And they got a lot of South Africans in that backroom staff. So
then I'm hoping he gets looked after.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is another one that has all the ability in the world, but also, if not careful, it's playmakers in South Africa. We've known a few that have got a naughty record. You know?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Time will tell.
Let's see. And then the other big concern, especially I think someone like you will relate, since you are a striker and you're playing there, is goal scoring.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, for me, I feel like it's a relatively new problem.
Agreed.
Because in the past, you know, the last proper striker we had was Leslie Manyatela.
Yes. He was quality. Yeah.
Then after that we had Gatle Kompela towards the World Cup.
Yes.
But if you look at before that, the 96 squad was spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
Benny McCarthy was struggling to break in.
Yeah, when he's struggling, then you know. But yeah, Benny, you had Bartlett, you had players that were clinical, scoring goals at big European leagues, and the expectation around is different. In South Africa, how many games are won 1-0, 2-0? In Europe, that's a boring game. You often get 3-1, 4-0. Teams hammer you. You make a mistake in Europe, you get punished. It doesn't happen here. I've always said to players here, mistakes in Europe get punished. Until they start punishing mistakes in this country, mistakes will always happen. Because it's easy going. I can try. If it's not going to work, you won't score it. But if you get a clinical striker like a Collins and Basuma years ago,
Yeah.
you give him half a chance, he's giving you 40, 45 goals in a season, you're going to panic. You're going to have defenders have a different mentality because they know they can't take the risk there. And we lack that here. And for me, it's not just the striker, it's the build-up around the striker, the type of service the striker gets. You know, to be a striker, you need service. You need the balls in the right areas. And I don't feel like we do that to our strikers. We don't give Lyle Foster a chance, for example, or a Rainer a chance. At their club, they get the opportunity because the players play to their strengths. But I don't feel like internationally we have that capacity to put players in the right position to score goals. And that's the problem for me. It's the striking, yes, but it's also the build-up around the striking.
And again, it's a new problem because we're mentioning now, Dr. Kumalo, Shoes Michelle.
Shoes, yeah.
So as a striker, you're spoiled for opportunities.
Absolutely. But you also had players around you who put the ball into the right areas for you.
Yeah.
You know, they knew where you wanted it. So if you gave Doc the ball edge of the box, you knew you were going to get some kind of magic, you know. You gave Benny a ball in the big box or any ball in the vicinity where he can shoot, he'll hit target for you. Sean Botha was the same. There's a goal against Charlton. Over his head, he hits a volley. One of the best goals that the Premier League seen, you know. Service makes opportunities. But if you're getting a striker with 1 or 2 shots in a game, it's very hard to expect him to always translate 1 or 2 chances to a goal again. And he needs 3, 4, 5 chances, and then he needs to take at least 1 or 2 of those. If not, then you look to the striker. But we're not having that kind of shooting capacity. We're having 8 shots in the game, 1 on targets. That's just not good enough.
And most of which came from Bokazi as a centre back.
100%. He's hitting the ball from distance and popping it. Like it's that's my point.
Yeah.
It's not coming from the right areas of the field. So that needs to change.
Okay, well, I guess we have a lot of homework until the next World Cup.
We do. But the hope is there's more coaches coming through now.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of ex-professionals I played with building these facilities for development. So, you know, I'm hoping in 10 years' time, the crop now who are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 coming through in 10 years' time might be a very different breed of footballer because they get better information given to them. It's all about the coaching.
Yeah.
The coaching at that young age, especially 10 to 13, those are the key fundamental years. The coaching is what's important. And if you're having coaches who are just teaching kids to kick long, chase, and win games, they're going to fall through the hole.
Yeah.
They're going to fall. There's a big gap.
Okay, before we start talking about your coaching journey, let's rewind to your journey to becoming a professional soccer player.
Okay.
Can you just give us some detail in terms of like from the first time kick a ball, how was your journey to becoming a professional soccer player?
My journey was interesting. My dad played professional football with Gordon Egerson. They played SA schools together. So I always had that caliber of person around me. My dad, Gordon Egerson, people who had played, you know, Mike McCobb. I had a guy named Johnny Brooks who actually played in England, the English Premier League, played for England and many years ago, professional licensed coach. So I had the caliber of coaches around me. So when I was 2, not that I remember this, but I was told by my father, he used to kick a ball with me at a young age. Come running home and kick for me in an hour, 2 hours. By the time I remember this part, when I was 5, we could header it back and forward together, over 100 without dropping the ball. I was 5 years old. But it was him putting time into me, getting my basics right, kicking the ball, teaching me how to header, teaching me how to pass, teaching me how to do these things. So from 5, I was playing under 8 football with teams wouldn't let me play in the normal age group. My dad always challenged me by taking me to a stronger team as I outgrew a team. I was asked to go to the School of Excellence in Joburg when they opened it in Essen Park. I think I was in grade 9 or grade 10. And my dad said, no, your education will suffer. Professional football finds you, it'll find you where you're playing. So I finished high school. But during high school, I had coaches like Johnny Brooks around me.
And by the way, what high school did you go to?
I went to Glenwood High School. It's a very rugby, cricket dominant school, but we had football, like I said to you. We did play soccer, but we had Dylan Shepherd, myself, Gareth Ormshaw, guys who were good footballers. So the school created a league for us. We had a team, you know, and we competed. We did really well. So at 17, I had Fulham watching me playing. I was playing senior amateur football for Stella. And I had United tapping my shoulder to go for trial in Man United 98. So I went to 98 to Man United for a month during my matric year. And they invited me back after school to come back and look to sign for the junior team. But unfortunately, I couldn't get a work permit. So I came back to South Africa. And it was in that period of time, my agent, Glenn Binken, he took me to, I was at Amazulu for 3 months under Clive Barker. And Clive wanted to sign me, but Amazulu back then would always manipulate the contract, change something in the contract, come time to sign the salary or the length of contract, something always changed. So my agent refused to sign it. Each time he double checked it. After that, he took me from Amazulu. After 3 months of being messed around, Super Sport United under Roy Matthews, and Pitso Mosimani was, I think, the assistant at that stage, if I remember correctly. And I went to Roy Matthews. I signed within the first week. I signed 18 years old. I played my first game against some Tata Bucks. You know?
Oh.
It was so long ago, you can't even find my first game on the Google because it doesn't exist. I've lost 40, 50 games in my professional career, but they didn't exist back then.
And you can't find push bucks right now.
No, you know, so it doesn't exist. And South African teams change names all the time. So I was at Supersport for 6 months. Then I went to Wits University. Pitzer Musmani took over from Bruce Schrobbler, and he released a lot of young players. He had an idea in his mind, and all the players that Roy had signed, Roy Matthews, he let go of. I was young, I was 19. So I went to Wits University. I was there 6 months, and I went to Jomo Sono. He borrowed me and many other young players from other teams to go with Cosmos under 20 to a tournament in Italy. And it was there that I got scouted to go to Europe. I got back off the plane to South Africa. Jomo had bought me from Wits and he had sold me overseas. Yeah, exactly. So Jomo, I'd known as a youngster, he watched me play football, and he was my catalyst for Europe. And then from there, I was in Scandinavia. I went to Turkey. I kept chasing England. That was my dream, England. And I think if I look back in hindsight, maybe being more patient and being at clubs a little bit longer might have been more beneficial for me to get the big move somewhere. But coming home in the end, ultimately I came back to try to get back in the World Cup squad for 2010. I was used as an impact player. I was told I played too European. I was told many things of how I played football, and I only would play if we were losing a game or they needed me to score or create something. So it frustrated me, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
And then I had a chance to go back to Europe at 32 to go be a player coach my last few years back in Scandinavia. But because my little boy was 2 at that stage, I decided to retire. I rather hung the boots up young. I'd played 14 years. I'd had a bad knee injury in Turkey. You know, I had to pull out my first Bafana camp against Australia in Durban. I met Stuart Blackstad Ilangeni. I just said to him I wasn't available. I blew my knee. And I was out for 20 months. You know, I almost didn't play again. I was told I might not play football again. So I had to rehab myself 4 times a day for 2 years almost. And I ended up playing another 8 years. But I was never the same player. I was not as quick as I was before. I was still the same player.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that vicious winger or vicious striker that was explosive, quick. I was more of a clever footballer, manipulating defenders with movement, but I didn't have the explosive power off the mark anymore, you know, so it definitely changed how I saw the game. You know, but it was an interesting career. I think if I look back now in hindsight, certain things I could have done differently, but to have played professionally 14 years at the back end of a very bad knee injury,
yeah, I'm
grateful for the career I had, you know.
And what is your highlight in your playing career?
Yeah, I've got a few, you know, but scoring for South Africa under 23 in the Olympic qualifier against Algeria, my first 2 goals for South Africa in the first 4 minutes of my game, my first debut. That was special. You know, I had a pen and then I scored 4 minutes later. Gift Leremi put me through.
Oh.
Or Gifty, it's a shame. Rest in peace. You know, so for me, it's a massive highlight for me. Playing UEFA Cup was a highlight for me. Playing Fenerbahce in Istanbul, 50,000 fans swearing, screaming, shouting at you was an interesting experience. I really enjoyed. The bigger the crowd, the better I played. I always enjoyed a big crowd.
Yeah.
You know, we performers. But those are key. You know, obviously United. Man United at 17 years old made me want to be professional. I always wanted to be, but it made me realize I really wanted to be. You know, so those are my highlights, my key highlights.
And just on that, going to United at 17, just that traveling, does that spark something in your? Yeah. I'm taking it from a player's point of view now. If I'm 17 and I get the privilege to go travel in Europe, will I come back? Will that benefit me? You know,
can do both. To benefit you and also to be a damage to you. You know, I had a chat yesterday in the Academy here in Cape Town as a guest speaker, and I was saying to them that it's very easy to get a big head, a key arrogance as a footballer, because it's part of the parcel of what we do. You know, and if you don't have that center of someone who's reminding you when you're coming that douchebag, that idiot, to center you again, to remind you there's always someone better than you, you can very easily become that kind of person that footballers always get spoken about, the arrogance, the ego, you know. So going at United, coming back, I definitely came back with a lot of confidence, but I had my parents to ground me. And the beneficial thing for me was when I came home, I realized what real football looked like, what facilities looked like at the highest level, you know. And I realized that what I was playing on in South Africa, it wasn't what I wanted. You know, going to Joburg at a young age, I think was great, but there was no guidance. There was no one at the club taking you under the wing and teaching you nutrition, teaching you sleep, teaching you how to recover post. It was none of that. You were expected to know it, which tells me how far back South African football is. Because in Europe, you had that. You had lunch given to you. You had they would talk to you about certain things, nutrition, sleep, why, the benefits to it. Here, we will probably talk about many players that were phenomenal players, the youngsters, about 23, they retired.
Yeah. Because
there was no guidance, they became alcoholics, drug addicts, they lost the way because there was no one teaching them the right way. And they had this wealth of money in front of them, they didn't know how to use it. So going to Europe at 20, probably in the end made my career far better than what it would have been.
Yeah.
So I think I could have got lost in South African football, absolutely.
Yeah. And I was having a argument with a friend of mine about Mbokazi.
Yeah.
He was saying that he should have left after the World Cup to go overseas. But I feel like the sooner you leave, the better.
I agree. He's gone to America, very physical, very aggressive league. He's been voted as one of the MLS teams. You know, he was one of the star players alongside Messi. Now he's playing in a World Cup where it's physical, it's quick. The conditions are the same conditions he's been playing in for the last year, heat, whatever else it might be. And he's been one of my stand-up players.
Yeah.
He's been phenomenal, you know. And big clubs are tapping on his arm. They're going, hey, we want you, you know. And it's because he's gone to an environment that wasn't comfortable for him. When you're uncomfortable, you grow. And at Pirates, he would have been comfortable. He would have been the king of the hill every week. And whether it was a good game or a bad game, he would have had the same thing. Don't worry, it's okay. Whereas in America, or any top European league, for example, you get told that's not good enough.
Yeah.
That standard won't fly. And he had to have that education. And at 20, when I went to Europe, I was 20.
Yeah.
The best thing to do, because you're still young enough to be taught the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I agree with you. He should have gone when he could.
And I mean, my worry is that if you had to stay longer, it's easy to get sucked into the bed.
Very easy. Very easy. Especially in South African football. And if you're earning 500 grand a month in South Africa, you are a top dog. Life is easy. You can do whatever you want. In Europe, 500 grand a month is nothing. It's 25,000 euros a month, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. But it's standard there. No one looks at you like you're a big dog, because that's what you should be earning. And that's a small salary there. The bigger the league, the more you're going to earn. If you go to Bayern Munich, you'll earn 4 or 5 times that amount.
Yeah.
You know? So I think the best thing he could have done was go to America when he did. Was America the right move? Maybe not. If it was a bigger European potential, maybe. I don't know what was available to him. But I don't think it's failed him.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's helped him grow as a footballer. And it suits his style because he's big and strong.
Yeah.
And it's added to his mentality. And we spoke about mentality earlier. His mentality is supreme in Bafana Bafana. You can see he's relentless, challenging, clearing things off the line, back heel challenges. He trusts himself. He backs himself completely. And that's come from his being uncomfortable. And he had to back himself. No one else was going to back him. He had to do it himself.
Wow. No, let's hope he goes all the way.
I agree with you. I really hope he does, but I think he is a phenomenal footballer.